Today, we want to do a song with you, and the Millers have been kind enough to join me on this. It comes from the book of Mark, and actually takes a bunch of different passages and puts them together, but kind of the hook, if you will, comes from the book of Mark, where Jesus is talking about the oral law. Remember the oral law, what the Pharisees had done, and I think certainly you guys have studied this. They take what God had said, and they sought to build this fence around it to protect the people. And so they would come up with things like, oh, you can't spit on the Sabbath because your spit will mix with the dust and make mud, and that's work. So you can't do that. Of course, what's Jesus' theological response to that in John 9? Patuli, right? Because he hates our man-made laws, our man-made traditions, and he wants us to stick to his word. Well, in Mark chapter 7, Jesus and his disciples have been walking, and the guys are just taking some grain. That's all they're doing is to get it to eat, right? And the Pharisees want to say, oh, you're working, and get on to them. And Jesus says, and he said to them, well did Isaiah prophesy, you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. You leave the commandment of God and hold to the tradition of men. I think he's going to go another direction with it. He's just gotten onto we're being too strict and making man-made rules that were stricter than what God intended and enslaving people. But then he goes this direction. And he said to them, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. Notice that. You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition. For Moses said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever reviles father or mother must surely die. But you say, if a man tells his father or mother, whatever you would have gained from me as Corban, that is given to God, then you no longer permit him to do anything for his father or mother, thus making void the word of God by your tradition that you have handed down, and many such things you do. Now, you guys are pastors, so we don't have time to go into all the background, the cultural background of that. But here's his point. Beforehand, they were being too strict with their stuff, stricter than what God intended, but now they're also with their oral law more looser than what God said. And the point is, guys, we just got to stick to the book. Like these guys have been saying, stick to what does the Word of God say. That's how we show love for the Lord. It's how we show love for our brothers and sisters. This is called Amen. is in vain. And so is your life. I'm trying to save you pain. So now, my people, I'm calling to you. Break these rules of hypocrisy. Live the lives that are true. For your word